A reading from the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 18. Paul left Athens and went to Corinth. There he found a Jew named Aquila, a native of Pontus, who had recently come from Italy with his wife Priscilla, because Claudius had ordered all Jews to leave Rome. Paul went to see them, and because he was of the same trade, he stayed with them, and they worked together. By trade, they were tent makers. Every Sabbath, he would argue in the synagogue and would try to convince Jews and Greeks. When Silas and Timothy arrived from Macedonia, Paul was occupied with proclaiming the word, testifying to the Jews that the Messiah was Jesus. When they opposed and reviled him, in protest he shook the dust from his clothes and said to them, "Your blood be on your own heads. I am innocent. From now on I will go to the Gentiles." Then Paul left the synagogue and went to the house of a man named Titus Justus, a worshipper of God. His house was next door to the synagogue. Crispus, the official of the synagogue, became a believer in the Lord together with all his household. And many of the Corinthians who heard Paul became believers and were baptized. Probably everyone has a dream home in their mind. Housing in our times is the greatest lifetime work for many people in our society. Since you cannot easily move your house, its location is the most critical factor when you choose your new house. Then what is a good location? People have different ideas about good locations for home, but certainly there are more popular regions and neighborhoods. Beautiful scenery, accessibility to services such as shopping, banks, hospitals, and schools, a pleasing climate, and the like, decide an ideal place for living. And we work hard to get a place in such locations. However, those early Christians we encounter in the Acts of the Apostles, such as Aquila and Priscilla in today's reading, seem to have quite a different standard for choosing their places to live. Aquila and Priscilla were originally living in Rome, but when persecution occurred, they moved to Corinth. Later, they moved to Ephesus. Then finally, they went back to Rome. Certainly, they didn't move around in search of the best location for pleasant living. All their moves were related to their faith. This faithful couple were close corroborators of St. Paul in his missions. Rome, Corinth, and Ephesus had important Christian communities in the early church, as we see in the titles of St. Paul's epistles. As a married couple and laypersons, Aquila and Priscilla carried the role of Christian community leaders. For them, Christian communities were the critical factor for where they lived. We take it for granted that there is always a church where we live. Yes, mostly it's true. Wherever you choose to live, usually it is not too hard to find a Christian community nearby. But I still see many faithful Christians, they consciously choose a place of living close to churches. Here is an interesting litmus test of faith. Some people, as they grow older and more successful, move to pleasant and peaceful places and build impressive houses away from everything else. You can picture a nice country mansion surrounded by woods and creeks and fields away from the town center and busy residential areas. On the other hand, some people, as they grow older and now retired, are happy as long as they can live close by the church and go to Mass daily. What is your dream home like? Where is it?